Well, howdy there. You have stumbled your way into the MTG Thoughtcast and the Outlaws of Thunder Junction pre-con reviews. You're watching one of a four-part from our podcast episode. You can find the links to in the description below, along with a playlist to all the other decks of this cycle from this set. We're real excited to have you here. Enjoy the show. So, we can't have Outlaws of Thunder Junction without our Outlaws. We need someone to be doing this rootin' and tootin' and shootin'. And that is going to be our Outlaws commander called the Most Wanted deck, featured at the helm of Olivia, Opulent Outlaw. So this deck is Mardu. It's red, white, and black. The theming of it is going to be the Outlaws subtype that is introduced with this set is here. Olivia reads as 1 red, white, and a black for a 3/3 legendary vampire assassin. Flying and lifelink, whenever one or more outlaws you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. And 3 mana activated ability, sacrifice 2 treasures, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery.
This is sick.
This is a real cool one.
So much good that's happening here. It's incentivizing you to hit multiple players. These are the immediate things I notice. You're highly, because every player you hit is going to net you a different treasure token. And it also is incentivizing you to not just use your treasures for big mana things. Obsessed with this.
Exactly. It's super cool. So to clarify the point, though, of what Outlaws is, Outlaws is a sub-parameter of creatures. Any creature you control that is of the creature type assassin, mercenary, pirate, rogue, or warlock, it is considered an outlaw. And so that is what this deck is trying to do. It is playing like an aggressive, almost trying to be typal, but that typal is spread out amongst 5 different varieties of creatures. The most prominent in this one is certainly going to be the rogues, the mercenaries, and I believe the warlocks. Olivia herself is obviously an assassin. Pirates, there are a few in here, but not as much. So, but that most every creature in here does fit within that parameter.
Pirates of the Wild West gets me.
Is so cool. That is exemplified as well, though, on the backup commander of this, who is also an outlaw himself, Vihan Goldwaker. Red, white, and a black for a 3/3 legendary dwarf warlock. Other outlaws you control have vigilance and haste. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have treasures you control become 3/3 construct assassin artifact creatures in addition to their other types until end of turn.
Rules.
Dudes out here just raising the vaults.
Yeah. That works insanely well with Olivia, where all of your treasures become assassins, and then as those hit each player, you make more treasures that become more assassins.
It also just works well with them being treasures itself, because Vihan himself gives these treasures vigilance. They can now swing in for combat and then second main do their tap sacrifice for mana.
Whoa.
If need be.
So
both of these are very great options out of the box. I'm personally a fan of Goldwaker himself, but I can definitely see that this deck is built around with Olivia in mind at the helm of it. You are exactly as you had mentioned it, Joseph. You are looking to take your assorted outlawed creatures that are here, swing in at combat damage, presumably, and most effectively at 1 to each of your players that you have, so that you are generating as much treasure value as possible, and then boosting all of these friends up. And every other support piece that comes as part of this, most all of the other outlaw type creatures in here, there's a bunch of legendary in here. So on top of doing Olivia's own thing, each of these outlaw legendary creatures, they're all doing their own support thing to help you push through extra combat damage or remove threats from the board and goading and things of that nature. It's really, really cool deck. Obviously, like every other pre-cons we have, this deck features new card designs in it along with the reprints. I'd like to give a highlight to some of those. My favorite one definitely is in the creatures. That would be Grey Waters Fixer. A 2 black and a red for a 4/4 lizard mercenary. Great creature types here. I love these, seeing things like dwarf warlock and lizard mercenary, and like the ones that are in the main set as well. Super cool. This dude, as a 4/4 as well, I think I said that, gives each outlaw creature card in your graveyard Encore X, where X is its mana value. This has been shown before, very, very powerful with Sliver Gravemother and other cards that can give Encore to cards that don't normally have or can gain Encore before. Being able to just generate a bunch of tokens of that creature from the graveyard, you can do some really wacky shenanigans.
Yeah, that card is sick.
Yeah, and this card encourages the theme that we were saying about that Olivia wants you to be hitting every single one of your opponents if possible. Encore creates you a token equal to the number of opponents you have, and each of those tokens is basically assigned to that opponent. So it has to swing at each of one of those opponents that turn if able.
Great. So sick, dude.
I love this. Yeah. So you take obviously this doesn't work super well with legendaries, but you take any outlaw in here, something dumb like, say, Direfleet Ravager, and give him Encore. Here's 3 Direfleet Ravagers that now enter the battlefield, go swinging at one of your opponents. Also, everyone has lost a third of their life 3 times.
Third and the third and the third.
Oh my God.
Real dumb.
Very sick.
Real dumb.
Dude, I love how this deck kind of feels like the old like gang of villains just together.
Yeah.
Like it's just like the most random assortment of villains that should never be in the same place, but they're all in this deck together.
This is what the Suicide Squad could have been.
Yes.
Well, you want to talk about the Suicide Squad basically coming back from the dead? Let's talk about my next card. Back in town is X, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Return X target outlaws from your graveyard to the battlefield.
They're just printing that with an X these days.
That's cool. Cool.
Now, like, the floor of this is bad because X of 1, you've now done the cost of, I believe it'd be Zombify, which just returns 1 creature to play. Once you start getting above like an X of 2, that's really good. It's a strange one, this one, because like if you have this X flex number between the cost of Zombify and Rise of the Dark Realms, then it's really, really good. If you are wanting this X to be like, say, higher than what Rise of the Dark Realms would be, then you probably would be better off just doing Rise of the Dark Realms. But what I like about this is the flexibility behind it, because I'm a very big advocate of your cards being multi-purpose and versatile over the variety of the game. So if this is something you need as early as turn 4, fantastic, you have it. But if you need something really hard to put a bunch of mana sink into to recur your board after a Wrath, this can also do that because it's got the flexibility to go up and down in its cost. I like it a lot. I like it very, very much. It's very clean, very simple. Just bring your boys back into the rodeo. We love it a lot. Nice. Last one I want to bring up real quick then is We Ride at Dawn. 2 and a white for an enchantment. Legendary creature spells you cast have Convoke. And when your commander attacks, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token that has the mercenary token abilities that all the mercenary tokens in this set do. They have the ability to tap and give a target creature 1/0 until end of turn, only as a sorcery.
Banding.
No, I really like this. Convoke is very, very strong. Convoke reads in a way that your creatures that you have can help you tap to cast the card. But what's most notable is that Convoke can be used on the colored source. Convoke says that you tap the creatures, they either produce a colorless or a mana of that creature's color. So
I love that.
Spells with Convoke can, with the right board, essentially be free. Yes. And this I think would be a very great. This is a really great card in this deck itself, but take this one and throw it into something with Legendary Matters, and especially on Legendary Matters that is creating other tokens as they come into play as well. Like something like, say,
if I can throw a tidbit in here as well.
Go ahead.
We Ride at Dawn seems especially good with Vihan at the helm because he gives your other outlaws vigilance. The issue that I have with Convoke in the times that I've used it in practice is it just shuts you off from playing the game. So like you're using your creatures to cast spells rather than to swing. So if you have something like Vihan down, which gives everything vigilance, then you get to do your swings first, and then in your second main use them to convoke.
Yeah, it is real
Great
good.
synergies.
It's really good. And again, it fits well in this deck because, again, a lot of the outlaw cards that they have chosen to put in here, most of them are legendary. And then the card itself creates you mercenaries. And then, like you said, Vihan can turn your treasures into creatures as well that then can basically be tapped for mana without sacrificing themselves after the Vigilance swing. You know what I mean? So, like, you can have this great synergy setup of, like, going to combat, swinging all your dudes in, and then on your second main, tapping things down to put more legendaries into play, making more outlaws, more treasure.
This thing looks really cool. It looks like it can handle a lot of different things getting thrown at it, and it can just survive.
It can. It's really cool.
Resilient.
Starting to move over into talking about some good reprints that come in here as well. One to bring up is the reprint alternate commander that you could play out of the box of here, which is Queen Marchesa, originally from Conspiracy 2. 1 red, white, black, 3/3 legendary human assassin with death touch, haste. When she enters the battlefield, you become the monarch, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent is the monarch, you make a 1/1 black assassin creature token with death touch and haste. Very cool that she is outlaw, creates outlaws, gives you monarch. Queen Marchesa is a very good choice to be in here.
She's been a great commander for a long time, but has lacked the finishing power. So I don't even think it's a wrong plan to put her in the command zone either and have this be a Queen Marchesa assassins outlaw focused deck. That's something that she has been lacking for a long time. You usually have to resort to combo, especially in this color pairing. So having strong, they've been putting some good Mardu enablers in the last few sets. Between like going back as far as like the Dihada precon, this feels like an extension of Dihada with how many legendary creatures there are. And anyway, carrying on. That's a very good tie-in as well. Dihada would make a very good fit into this as well. Other interesting stuff that comes in here as well, again, with most every other legendary creature that comes in here fits the criteria of being an outlaw. So your best reprints in here, like Brina the Demagogue, about a $7 card, is a warlock in its abilities, and then gives you some really good back and forth on being able to get bonuses on attacking the opponents who have the most life and other opponents attacking each other. Really cool card. Obviously, a deck that poops out treasures, we can't have anything without good friend Academy Manufacturer stomping into the battlefield. Clang, clang, clang. Ding! Just another mark on the Academy Manufacturer gets better and better.
Just always there.
He is actually in my teching. He is the only creature in here not naturally an outlaw. He's the only one. But he had to fit into the treasure theme somewhere. So
I mean, roughly all of the commander options give you ways to make treasures. So
really good. Lightning Greaves comes in here as well. A very good piece of protection for your outlaws. All these legendaries, a lot of them want to be doing combat related things. So being able to keep them safe and protected and allowing them to go fast, very good card to be in here. I was interested to see this card called Seize the Spotlight as one of the ones that was a bit higher up on the reprint value. It is a 3-mana sorcery that makes each opponent choose Fame or Fortune. Each player who chooses Fame, you gain control of a creature they control until end of turn, untap it, and they gain haste. For each player who chose Fortune, you draw a card and make a treasure.
Yes.
Was apparently
very, very good, because the correct answer in a 4-player game is this is going to be 3 mana. I make 3 treasures and draw 3 cards.
Yeah, it's very good. Basically pays for itself, keeps your hand filled, and then worst case scenario, if they really don't want to give you treasures, you get a creature out of it.
Yes.
Apparently was like some $5 card that was only ever in a previous precon before. So really cool to see it here. That's a good one. Command Beacon is also in the lands as well. This one has continued to sneak up at a high cost as well. Very good and efficient way to keep commander tax low, especially on an aggressive commander. Any of the 3 that you would be playing out of the box right here. That's a real good one.
Dude, I do not have a Command Beacon.
Dude, it's criminally underprinted.
I've never had one.
It's a very good. It's interesting, right? Just at the cost of needing to sack a land, pull your commander directly to hand, and then you've evaded commander tax for a turn. It's a really, really cool card.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Super good.
I would play that everywhere.
Some other quick real highlights I wanted to bring up is stuff that I feel is really, really cool that's in here. We already talked Direfleet Ravager. This dude is a monster. ETB, just drain everybody a third of their life real quick. That's how an aggressive deck can go fast. Just instantly drain everybody. Grenzo Havoc Razor is a real cool one as well. Allows to give either some extra card draw or give goading across the table. Keeps the board open for you to start swinging wide. Real fun there. Mari the Killing Quill. I'm real excited to see that one in here. It doesn't hit everything in the creature types. This one only hits rogues, assassins, and
Mercenaries.
Oh, it does hit mercenaries?
Mm-hmm. Assassins, mercenaries, and rogues you control have death touch.
Look at that. But yeah, this is a real good one. It allows you to get extra value off of those subset of creatures dealing combat damage. That's a real cool one.
Shuts down aristocrats as well. Just being a exile effect instead of creatures dying.
I had to stop myself in my notes from accidentally writing down Rankle, Master of Prankles, but our good friend Rankle is in here. The dude flying haste. That's and just subset of just throw. You start making more creatures down, just like throw all the subset that he can do. He's a real hoser.
This deck is doing the same thing for me that the party deck from the from one of the Dungeons and Dragons sets did, where I just went, "Oh, that's a cleric, huh? Neat." He's a rogue. Very cool.
Yeah, it's rogues and assassins that really like throw you off. Is like, "Ooh, that thing is a rogue." Surprise. Council Judgment in some of the removal. This is one of my favorite pieces of spot removal. You get to just be politics down the board of non-targeting exile. That's super cool. And not as super interesting, but I just thought it was really cool to bring up that there is a Trailblazers boots in here. There's something we were just talking about last episode. At least that was the card of mine. It was like, hey, you're not playing enough Trailblazers boots. Here it is in the precon itself. I got a huge kick out of that, not knowing that ahead of time. That was really, really cool.
Very sick.
But yeah, this out of the box as is, I think this is a really cool, like this deck is trying to do aggressive things. It's doing treasure creation. You're doing like typal matters while also having a broad stroke of that typal matters. Lots of legendary options that if you were to say buy this and kind of pull the pieces apart, you've got lots of legendary creatures that could go everywhere. It's really, really cool. I like this deck a lot.
Something I'm noticing before we start talking about upgrading it, and I think this can, at least for the ones that I have looked at it as well, the mana base is very interesting in these, where there's a ton of colorless utility lands for a 3-color deck.
Yeah.
So I would say as a base, looking at all these decks, take a glance at the mana bases. I would probably try to get rid of some of the tap lands and some of the like Temple of the False God does not belong in this deck. That is
probably not. Yeah,
to pay. That's like the lesson that they teach you via the precons is that Temple of the False God is a bad card. It's like level 1 of playing Commander. If you can figure that out quickly, that's going to level up to level 2. But even things like, why is there a Bonder's Enclave in this deck? Like, is your Commander even 4 power? Nope.
No, but again, Olivia puts +1/+1 counters across your whole board, though, so it's not too hard to get up to 4. But I do understand what you're getting at. Yeah, but I guess here's the thing. Here's the push-pull. Is like this deck is trying to create lots of treasures, and apart from the abilities of both of the new legendary creatures that come in here, treasures are still treasures. You can use them for mana. So I
get the treasure makers out first, though. So I would say I would be cutting all the colorless things and just putting in some more basics, because there's only 8 basics in this deck. Yep. Again, criminally low.
Yeah, that's kind of wacky
take on the land base here.
Yeah,
that's a bad time. That's a bad time in game, is what that is.
So doing those kind of cuts, some other some other additions that I think would be really good to throw in here. There is a legendary creature from the main Outlaws of Thunder Junction set itself that would fit super well in here, and that is Laughing Jasper Flint. Is 1 black and a red for a legendary 4/3 lizard rogue. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to the other types. And at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells.
That's a perfect card, dude.
That's hot.
That would fit so good in here. I'm surprised it wasn't in there.
Yeah.
If you're buying the main set and you're buying this precon, get yourself Laughing Jasper. There's also a bunch of just cards in the main set itself that also does like outlaw care sort of thing. But I feel this one would probably give you the most impact on your board.
Yes.
Yeah, that card's
It's essentially card draw
Mm-hmm.
in Rakdos.
Yeah, off of somebody else's. And again, allows you to steal other people's cards, turn them into outlaws in your board that are then affected by all of your outlaw synergies.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's real good. Legion Loyalty is also another dumb as rocks enchantment that I think would fit really well in here. It's a real silly one. I believe it's 7 mana. It gives your creatures Myriad.
Yep.
Yeah. You're trying to get your outlaws to connect with every player. No easier way to do that. Blade of Selves could probably also fit into this as well if you're looking for something lower to as far as mana cost goes. But Myriad stuff in general would work really, really well with this because that creates you a tapped and attacking token at each other player that your main creature is not already attacking. But I like Legion Loyalty in here because, again, you're doing the treasure generation thing. You could ramp out into this a good bit faster than other strategies potentially could.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're doing a treasure deck thing as well, and Academy Manufacturer is already in here, let's do some of our other treasure friends in here, like Zorn. If you want to do Dockside Extortionist because he's a pirate, sure, go ahead. He fits the theme.
It's insane how well Dockside Extortionist fits in this deck for it not being printed in the precon.
Exactly.
Done it.
You could have
Just do it.
You could
not gonna ban
have
it.
covered my eyes and convinced me that Dockside was printed in this precon.
He could have been, right? What better place would he have been? He's a pirate that makes treasures.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Zorn and other, I don't know any others ones specifically off the top of my head, but other cards that do treasure benefits, maybe Goldspan Dragon, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, that would be it. Ooh, what's Copper? The Copper one?
Ancient Copper Dragon.
Ancient Copper Dragon, yeah.
If you get that one to actually connect, man, that feels good.
Yeah, he's not an outlaw, but he will definitely make you the most treasures.
Yeah, definitely commits crimes. What's interesting is I normally would be against those super high mana value ads, but you're making treasures in this deck. Like Olivia wants the treasures to put counters on creatures you control, but at the same time, they're still just treasures. And same with Vihan. You can just use them to play these big things that give all your creatures Myriad and then end up netting you even more treasures. So I'm all for all of those ads. What do we cut
exactly,
here, John?
A couple quick cuts I can find in here real quick. Humble Defector is kind of strange in here. He fits the outlaw criteria, but like you don't really want to be sending him off to your opponents. That's just giving them a blocker and potential cards.
Is there any
cool.
way in here to sacrifice creatures? It's not a theme for sure.
Not particularly, no.
Because that's like the play with Humble Defector is because it's just a tap ability with the ability on the stack you can sacrifice it.
I suppose so.
I would assume that he is one of the outlaw subtypes.
Yeah. Another one that fits that really weirdly is Mist Meadow Skulk. It's a 2-mana 1/1 with lifelink and protection from mana value 3 or greater. Again, you could do better than this little guy. Just give him the boot.
I don't know. I kind of like him.
You're out.
He's a rogue. He's gonna get in there.
Another pick I would do is actually one of the other new cards that comes in this deck, Charred Grave Robber. 2 and a black for a 3/1 skeleton mercenary. When he enters the battlefield, return target outlaw card from your graveyard to your hand. He has escape for 5 mana and exiling 4 other cards from your graveyard, and then he escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it. Like, he only then ever at best becomes a 4/2. That's really bad.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work for a 4/2. Wow.
That's a lot of work for a grave robber.
Yeah, this guy's real bad. Get him out of here.
Yep. I like it. Hey, this is a neat deck.
Yeah,
this is
that's the Outlaws. It's
mirror entities in this deck. That, like, there's some serious. They've pumped this one up.
Mm-hmm.